What's up, y'all? It's your boy C coming back at you with another episode of C's Retro Garage. Coming to you from outer space in FEMA Region 4, the 1/3 restricted zone. Gonna ask and answer a question today. What if you live in FEMA Region 4 or 6 and you got something like that? That's right, a rear screened patio, or for us in FEMA Region 4, it's a rear screen porch, back porch, and you don't have either impact windows or accordions, and you need to get up there because a hurricane is a-coming. What do? We're going to answer that, or at least try, so stick around. Okay, so this is a problem that we face here in FEMA Region 4 and also FEMA Region 6, hurricanes. What to do when you have to shutter a window way up there, but you got this dumb screen in your way. I hate to tell you, but these screens here, this frame here, is not going to hold your body weight unless you're maybe like 115 pounds, and on top of that add the weight of the ladder as a scaffold. So you need to remove the screen to get to it. Now the smartest thing you could ever do is of course install accordion. But what we're going to do is we're going to build a trapdoor that would let you be able to climb up there to board that up and still keep your screen enclosure without missing a beat. Okay, so this is pretty much what you're going to need to build the trapdoor. You need at least one hinge, or maybe multiple hinges. Now, for the sake of this, I'm going to just use the one hinge because it happens to be what I got. A regular bolt lock. Now, these little angle irons, I'm going to show you the what if scenario. The what if scenario is if you have to manufacture a rod that's going to be longer than necessary. So at that point then you might need a hammer to hammer these flat so that you can basically put 2 and 2 together. If you don't need it, then the only thing you really need is going to be an angle grinder to make that cut quick, tape measure of course so you know how long your thing's going to be, and pretty much any drill. Unless it's going to be, into some pretty hard hardy board or even concrete that you're doing this in, which I can't imagine why you would be doing it into concrete. Then you would need a hammer drill, but other than that, you should just any old drill is fine. Phillips. You do need the screen frame corners, and you do need to use the screen spline. For this particular rod here, these guys are 84 inches long, so it's 7 feet long per rod, or frame, whatever the hell you want to call it. The screen spline, the 140 inch, or excuse me, the 0.140 inch is what you're going to need for this particular one if you want it to fit nice and tight. One other tool that I don't have here, besides the hammer, if you might need the hammer, is the screen rolling tool. I do have one. It's out back along with the screens, because the most important part is the screen. Without the screen, you got no screen. So the screen is out back. It's flattened out a little bit. But this is basically the only other stuff you're going to need. You're going to need, depending on the size of the trapdoor you're going to build, you may only need 2 of these. You may need all 4. If you need more than that, well, then you got a pretty big ass screen you got to deal with. So next step is going to be to measure. I have to take into assumption you guys know how to measure. So the hardest part is going to be to get up on the ladder and actually measure the screen itself. Unless you have a screen that wraps all the way around, screen patio like I do, you can actually at least measure the width without ever having to get on the ladder. The length might be a little bit of a different story, but for the width, at least you can measure that from the ground. So we'll go ahead and measure that up, and we'll cut these guys, and then we'll start putting it together. Okay, so we've cut these now down to 64.5 inches. Reason being, the width of the patio screen window is actually 66. These are 3/4. These are the little corners, the corner connectors. They are 3/4. So figure you have to compensate for that 1.5 inches. 64.5 inches is what you got to cut these guys down to. This is just my scenario. Your window could be a little bit different. It could be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. With that being said, do not throw out the extra pieces, because you never know what you might need. So this side's cut. Now this is going to be, in the case of mine, the east and the west side. These pretty much only go one way, as they fit this way. The little part where the screen actually goes in always goes in towards the inside of the screen. This guy goes in this way like so. Pop her in, done. You got your angle grinder. Remember, universal, greatest tool ever. Cut these very patiently, very slowly, and you can also sand down any little rough edges. And that's pretty much it. Now I got to get up on the ladder and I got to measure the length of the screens to finish this trapdoor. Stay tuned. Okay, and here is the frame already assembled. We got lucky. The length of the frame up above is 85.5 inches. These rods are 84 inches, so 84 plus 1.5 inches. There you go. Now it's time to screen them. Okay, so how to screen. Screen. As you can see here, there's the spline. Nice and tight. Pull tight, 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 tight. Make sure this is tight. You have your tool. It comes, as you can see, either rounded or with a channel. You already know this is super snug. Tight, tight, tight. Very tight. That's it. Just go all the way down the line. Alright, trimming the excess. It is this simple. Literally this simple. And just go all the way down the line till you get it nice and neat. That's pretty much it as far as that goes. As you can see, the screen is built. I left it a little bit longer on the back end there in case we have to make any adjustments, but it's pretty tight, it's pretty snug. Now we're just going to follow the usual pattern with the screen splines facing up, and I'm assuming that's because of gravity. With knowing that, we can flip this guy over now to install the hinge we're going to use to make this a trapdoor. Now remember, this is aluminum. Up there is aluminum, so it's pretty easy to drill. Okay, as you can see, the trapdoor is in. Be a good idea to get yourself some of those L brackets. You can get those in the drapery section at Home Depot. That's just kind of to hold it in and make the adjustments. It's kind of what we're doing now. The hardest part was just getting this thing in, to kind of sit the right way. You can see it's still kind of, slightly wonky, but you need those guys to kind of do the job of holding it up for you while you get this thing in, because it will bend. Personally, I'm kind of thinking of rethinking the strategy just a little bit, and probably going with a couple more of those L brackets to hold it in place, and then we go with the lock here. Maybe not even the locking mechanism. It doesn't take that long to just unscrew it if you have to unscrew here anyway, but this will be a win-win when you think about you have a hinge right there in that center, and that hinge is going to make it possible for you to be able to get up there without destroying the screen. So let's make the adjustments and wrap it up. Well, as you can see, there is your trapdoor. Now you got to give it a little time for it to stretch out a little bit, and then you could tighten, make the adjustments, but that's pretty much it. So when the time comes that you got to, just go ahead and just loosen your brackets there. There's the hinges. This will flap right down. This will stretch into place. Like I said, you do a little adjustments over time, and that's pretty much it. So when you take a look, you see your little screw head sticking out there. Just go ahead and lop those off with your angle grinder once you bring it down. But that's pretty much it. So that is how you take this bitch down and get up there. So here's the last question. So how long will this thing last? Well, to be honest with you, it's gonna last as long as the next bad storm. I mean, they're screens. This is pretty much it. This is what's gonna happen. It's either gonna make it or it's not. Screens are fairly easy to replace, and they're also very fragile. We expect a lot out of them. This has already held up over several rainstorms. Before I even had a chance to kind of tighten it up a little, and it held just fine. No rattling, no noise or anything. So to answer that in short, how long is it gonna last? How long will it last? It's gonna last until the next big hurricane. These things sometimes never show up, sometimes they do, and they pack a punch. And one house is standing and one is literally left untouched, similar to a tornado. So that's my answer to that question. It's gonna last until the next big storm tears it down for you. But other than that, this is a wrap. And that's all there is to it, friends. So thank you for stopping in. Thank you for checking us out. Give us likes. Again, this is your boy C with C's Retro Garage, coming to you from outer space in FEMA Region 4, the 1/3 restricted zone. Remind you to stay safe, be ye kind one to another. Peace out.